What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about dun 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 The Warrior Prophet by R. Scott Bakker. So guys, this is book number 2 in the Prince of Nothing trilogy. So I just want to say there will be some mild spoilers for the darkness that comes before. But for any of you that are out there that just kind of want to know more and more about the trilogy before jumping in, I just want to let you know it's okay. Get comfy, because I'm not going to be throwing massive spoilers out there. This is going to be a spoiler-free review for The Warrior Prophet, and I'm not going to try to touch on too much stuff from the darkness that comes before. I certainly want to be able to create all 3 reviews, so somebody that can, just kind of come in from anywhere, watch all 3, and not have too much spoiled. All right? Let's get into it. So in The Warrior Prophet, we follow the Holy War. Now, the book is separated into 3 different parts. Each part represents a different march here in the Holy War. So we will be following the first, second, and third marches. So when the book starts out, though, Bakker does give the reader a recap of the darkness that comes before. And this is really, really well done. I imagine for people that had to wait a very long time between books, this recap would really refresh the reader's mind onto what had happened in the first book. But then Bakker brings us into the beginning of the story, and we start in one of those school mandate shared dreams. And the thing is, in the darkness that comes before, we were definitely hit with this dream of Seswatha's, but we got glimpses of it. Where here in the beginning of The Warrior Prophet, Bakker just opens that dream up to the reader, and it's intense. While I was reading this, man, once again, he got me. My palms are getting sweaty, you know what I mean? I was sucked in. It was just like, damn. It's very well done, and it's very, very enjoying to read. But the thing is this also really opens up that scope to what's at risk here. We really do understand that threat, that, the threat of the consult, the threat that the mandate has been worried about since day one. Now, when we push forward, each march will really, open the map to us. It'll kind of, bring us a history and a certain amount of lore to the area, which is really nice to have. But also, each march will kind of present its own problems. The road to victory here is not exactly an easy one, if we can even say it's a road to victory, because the Holy War suffers a lot throughout this journey. And also know, guys, this is only book 2, so we're not reaching that destination of Shima. But either way, I really liked how Bakker fleshed this whole movement of the army out, because it's not like they're just moving in one cartoonish bunch in unison. No, it's a gigantic army, so realistically it's split, and mostly by its factions, but some will be ahead of others, while others might be trying to take alternative routes. But either way, the way in which the Holy War proceeds forward did feel realistic, and I liked it. It's cool as well, though, because, we have all these perspectives, but they're in proximity to each other. They're close. They're not so far away, so even when you kind of change perspective, it's not as jarring as it might have been in the darkness that comes before. So one of the first things I want to get into is Bakker's writing again, but because I feel like The Warrior Prophet is kind of delivered to the reader a little bit differently than the darkness that comes before. I do feel like Bakker, it still has that Bakker feel. It doesn't feel at all like 2 different people wrote the books, but he does kind of throw that narrative exposition style at you, especially when the Holy War kind of rolls up on a new area. He gives you some history of the area, which is actually very refreshing for the reader, because these things stop just being names thrown at you, and they become, real parts of the map. They become breathing parts of the story, which, like I said, so the people that might have had complaints with a lot of stuff being thrown at them in the first one, I feel like Bakker gives you something, here in this one to chew on, man. And it's fun, and it, like I said, it really did add to the story, but I feel like Bakker is still keeps some of that, indirect style as well, and it's just fucking awesome. The next thing I want to get into is something that I noticed was just amplified big time here in this story, and that's the magic. The magic was on display to full effect, and it was all badass. Like I said earlier, just even the shared dream of the school mandate was just done so much like more in your face. You could really feel it. But man, you're gonna get the taste of the Scarlet Spires. We really actually get to see more of Eliazarus and like how powerful he can be. A commune. I know I said Camion, a commune. A commune is. He's going to get a moment in here. I know throughout the darkness that comes before, he's always kind of insinuating that he could just fuck some shit up. And I certainly think that Bakker gives him his moment in this one. We'll also get to see the Kisharum on display. These are the sorcerer priests of the Phantom Empire. And so, these are the guys that a lot of people are afraid of. They're a big old threat. And so we finally get to see them on the battlefield as well. Now, not to mention something I didn't really talk about. I didn't really talk about the magic too much in the darkness that comes before. But I want to also mention the Kore, the tears of God, the trinkets that normal people, well, not everybody would have these. Usually only like, nobles or very rich people. But this is their defense against sorcery. So we, because that's one of those questions is like, well, why don't, the sorcerers just fuck everything up, Well, there's a couple reasons, and I do think that the Kore are a huge reason, and we will get to see some of that reason play out here in the Warrior Prophet, but also, we also get to understand, why the sorcerers call each other the Few. And now it starts to make sense as well as why maybe you don't see them that often in battle. It's kind of like in chess, guys, where the queen might be a very valuable piece and can certainly take care of every job, but you don't just send her out there to take care of every job. Now I want to take a sec and talk about the characters, because we're getting a lot of perspective characters following over from the darkness that comes before. But certain characters are going to get a lot more shine than others. I feel like we will get a lot of focus on Drusus Akamian. And the thing here is, this is a character that the reader can sympathize with. Akamian is not perfect, but he's got love for people. You know what I mean? We see it in his relationships with his students. We'll see it with his relationship with Kellis. So much that we'll start to see that Akamian is withholding information from his school, just in some ways to protect Kellis. I feel like the female characters, if anybody had an issue in book 1, I feel like they might be a little bit more on board in book 2. I'm not saying that women get a free ride and an easy ticket here in book 2. I'm just saying they definitely felt like they brought more to the story. Esminette and Akamian definitely bring like that love story element almost to this dark, dastardly tale. 2 characters that I love from book 1 that are in this one, but they definitely don't pop up as much as I wanted them to, are Confis, Akiri Confis, the nephew of the Emperor Zarias, and also the Exalt General, and Nayor Sciotha, the barbarian from the Utimate tribe, the Skilvindi barbarian. Those 2 guys I loved so much, and they're not in this one as much as I might have wanted them to be, but their parts were so great. I ate them up. I especially liked the dialogue between those 2 because it's just great, because you have Confis, the Exalt General, nephew to the Emperor, a man of station who just thinks himself better than everyone, talking to what he thinks is just a heathen. He doesn't even call him by his name, he just calls him Skilvendi. And then you have the Skilvendi Nayor, who is a savage, but he speaks profoundly and he just looks at Confis like an idiot. So it's really like it's just great. It's like watching these 2 brilliant minds just try to break each other down with quick dialogue. I also want to talk about Anasarimber Kellis, because he is our intriguing character coming over from the darkness that comes before. And he just, it's not like he gets any less intriguing, guys. This dude, we definitely get to learn more about Kellis, especially along the way. We watch him as he's become a student of Akamian. But at the same time, it seems like the roles reverse, and he plays the teacher to a commune as well. And this isn't limited to a commune. You know what I mean? Basically, everybody besides Naor is kind of being manipulated by Kellis. We see this, as the Holy War pushes forward, we see more and more men of the Tusk joining Kellis by the fire and listening to the words that he has to speak. And man, this really just gives off a lot of cool vibes, I gotta say. Yeah. And once again, we'll also get to see the physical prowess of Kellis at display here in this book. And he, at times might remind you of like Neo from the Matrix. He's just kind of that badass. Now I want to take a second and talk about the action in the book, because this really being like the Holy War on its march is just, man, this is an action-packed book. I mean, there are plenty of politics and other things at play here, but the battles are just amazing. Not just the magical ones, but the ones fought on the battlefield. You guys, if you listened or watched my Darkness That Comes Before video, you probably saw me make the claim that the Battle of Kayuth was my favorite battle I ever read. And that was true until I read The Warrior Prophet and I got to the Plains of Mengeta. And that battle blew me away again. And it's just insane. The way that Bakker can really sculpt a battle. I mean, the way he can get it to flow back and forth. During this battle, I honestly didn't know who was going to win. A lot of times when you're reading, you're like, yeah, this is intense and the stakes are high, but we know who's going to win. Not at all with this battle. I literally had no clue. I was gripped. And just the way the way that Bakker writes this stuff, it just has that different, hard-hitting impact. And it just is so amazing. I am so come on guys, look, gush, it's amazing. And the battle on the Plains of Mengeta, I mean, just because it also really brought in the sorcery, it brought in like just these crazy Hail Mary tactics. It was amazing. And that's just one battle in the book. And Bakker just has a great way of displaying this stuff. I was actually talking with somebody from a Bakker Facebook group, and like they were saying some stuff to me, and it made sense because I was like, yes, because sometimes this does read like a biblical / Homer tale, like the Old Testament meets the Iliad at times, but it's so amazing. The next thing I want to do is actually give a big old shout out to the R. Scott Bakker Facebook group, because they were an immense help after I finished this book, because I was getting some vibes and just like feelings about me, like the influences and all this stuff going on, and they were just an infinite amount of help. So I just want to say, when after finishing these two books, it is a dark tone, and I remember saying something about that kind of, in the last review. But what I kind of failed to mention was, man, like the vibes that it gives off, man, because at times it definitely gave me like Dune vibes. It even gave me like Bible vibes. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on, but it also, especially after reading The Warrior Prophet, there are certain things that happen that just seem so realistic to the story. Which made me wonder about the influence on the book from the Crusades, and come to find out that there's actually quite a bit of influence there. And like I said, I just want to throw a big old thanks to everybody from that Facebook group by directing me towards all this information. So I just finished the book yesterday, so I've only had a couple hours to actually do any kind of research. But I could say that there are some massive parallels between this book, this trilogy, and real history. And I would say specifically in the First Crusades, you could say there's massive parallels between the People's and the Prince's Crusade and Bakker's Vulgar Holy War. And then I can't remember the guy's name, but he essentially made the Crusaders swear fealty on their way into the enemy territory. That way, when lands were reclaimed, he could keep them instead of the Crusaders. Now, that is a massive parallel, if I ever saw one, to Zarias's indenturement order there in Book 1. Now, and here we go with the warrior prophet, and you could easily see the parallels between the siege of Antioch and in the events here in the warrior prophet. And it's just awesome to see that kind of stuff. It is nice to see, an author pulling stuff from real history, but also not shying away from the ugliness of it. Bakker doesn't, he doesn't like pull any punches. This is that uncompromising Bakker writing. You know what I mean? We're going to get the raping, the pillaging. You're going to get the starvation. You're going to get dehydration. The plague, catapulting plague bodies over castle walls. I mean, just the worst kind of shit that could happen during war and more, because you're really adding like the religious fanaticism behind all this as well. And honestly, just one of the reasons I bring this up is because I'm seeing it. I mean, I see that people are throwing a lot of praise on authors that are pulling stuff out of history and not shying away from it. So I'm just, I'm throwing this out there because I think that maybe, hey, I think that Bakker deserves some of that praise. Now, as far as my 2 cents for the slow and the struggling, for the struggling, you should have listened to me, and probably you shouldn't be at this point. You should be in that reader gym, working out, getting ready for the darkness that comes before. But I will let you know that, man, once you roll off the darkness that comes before, the Warrior Prophet is going to be an amazingly easy read for you. It is just structured a little bit easier to digest, and also you'll have known a lot of these perspective characters, so you're comfortable, and you got the hang of things. So just know that once you're buff enough for the darkness that comes before, you're going to roll off it into the Warrior Prophet, probably with no hurdles, just with ease, I would say, even. Now, for the slow, once again, if you have read The Darkness That Comes Before, you owe it to yourself to continue the series and pick up The Warrior Prophet. If you're out there and you finished the first book but then put it down and didn't continue, knock it off. Pick that one up, read it, and enjoy it. Thank me later. I know, guys. I know that I'm gushing, but honestly, like I said, this series is really shaping up to be that series for me, and I know that it can be for other readers as well, and that's why I'm going to be screaming about it. All right, guys. As always, thanks for spending some time down here at the channel. And to R. Scott Bakker, a kadoosh, 2 thumbs up again. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you improve on perfection. But you did it, sir. And I am so drawn in. I'm finishing this trilogy before the end of the year. I'm on time, and I can do it. And I can't wait to finish. But anyway, thank you, sir, for creating something that has drawn me in so deep and hardcore that it's actually pushed me to read about our history and just look into other books. All this, I don't know, it's just so cool. I'm going to shut up before this thing turns into a 30-minute video. Thank you, sir. To the rest of you, thanks for spending some time here, okay? I know this is crazy. I know it's just gushy gush, but thanks for spending some time, guys. I really, really do appreciate it, and it helps the channel quite a bit. If you're new, please like and subscribe. As always, peace.